Gillian, Joana, Marja-Kristina, and AutLoud.
So back at Autistic Pride, we have something that we're really proud of in Ireland this year, and it's a blog that started around April this year called AutLoud, about all things autistic. And I have Marja-Kristina, Joana, and Gillian here to talk a little bit about the blog and their motivation for it. And Joana is also going to be doing another introduction separate to this, and we'll see that today as well. Joana, can I start with you, please? Could you talk a little bit about setting up the group that became the AutLoud blog?
Yes, of course. So, Marja-Kristina, we were having some video meetups like we always do with AutPads, and I think afterwards at one point she messaged me, I think it might have been in February, saying, hey, why don't we start a blog together? So my ADHD brain was like, yep, let's do it. So we were very spontaneous about this, and I think she set up all the technical things, and then I started creating the website that I will show later on. And I think that being autistic, being very into, like going very deep into interest has helped me with that, because it just completely became my spin, my special interest to just set up this whole blog and to do all those kind of different steps involved, because I hadn't done anything like that before. So I don't have any background in web design or creating anything like that. So I think it was very interesting. And like being an ADHD too, I think has helped me in a way, because on the one hand, I'm very spontaneous and impulsive in that sense. Let's do it. Let's just do something new. But on the other side, I also have many different interests. So I think that it's just kind of patchwork interests that can feed into each other, that you can switch between. So I think in a way it was very good to have many different interests to set up a website like this, because you have to do a bit of technical things, you have to do design things, you have to do content things. And then the autistic idea of going down these different rabbit holes and just learning everything there is to know. So yeah, I think it was very interesting, and it can be a bit difficult. You have to really be mindful that you don't become too obsessed and too perfectionistic about things, and that you kind of manage yourself if your executive function isn't the best. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you, because like everything else in Ireland with adult autism, it's done by volunteers. So you're all doing this just because you love doing it. So yeah, okay. Gillian, there are so many different articles and different styles of article, but you have a particular interest in researching and referencing, kind of a monotropic interest there. So could you talk a little bit about that and how that fed into the blog? And with the mic on, it'd be even better.
That'd be very handy, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've only written one blog on masking because I was doing a master's, actually, a master's module. But what I have been able to do is use my interest, which happens to be autism at the moment, to help with other referencing. So I have, once I'm interested in something, I get really deeply interested in it, and then I have a tendency to kind of deep dive into my interests. So it's actually been great to be able to use that to help other people, or to, you know, link in with other people when they were doing their blogs. And that kind of interest, I have an ability to absorb a lot of information quickly, but also remember where I saw it, which has turned out to be quite helpful. I'm terrible with names, so, but luckily I have, when I'm interested like this, and this has been has been very good for me, because I had to do, I'm a bit demand avoidant. So when I had to do it for college, it was kind of taking the joy out of it for me a little bit. And I do get a lot of joy out of research, and I really enjoy researching. And so the blog has been great because I can do it for a fun reason, or a good reason, or a reason that I was actually enjoying, rather than having to do the research because I had to do it because somebody else told me I had to write an essay. So yeah, and it's been great because as you said, that monotropic interest that I have, I'm actually feel like I'm, not that it has, not when you have an interest it has to be for anybody else or to benefit anybody else, but I feel like this is actually of benefit, and now I have more time to give even more to it. So yeah, I can justify to myself why I'm attending all the conferences and doing stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, it's for the blog. It's not for me at all. Even though nobody's asked me to do it anyway. But yeah, like it's nice to have an interest and to be able to share that interest with people who understand why you're interested and why you don't have to explain why I'm so interested or why I'm diving so deeply into it. So yeah, it's been great for that. And hopefully that the fact that I like researching will be of benefit to other people as well. Yeah.
You're like a sophisticated Google. You just type in your request, and then Gillian comes back with like 20 resources. Apologizing, that's too many. I'm like, no, give me more. I
was like, yeah, info dump. It's actually so nice to info dump to people who actually want me to info dump, rather than, you know, my neurotypical parents have asked me a question and then I'm like, here, have all the information you ever wanted. I've learned now to ask first. If neurotypical people ask me for information, I'm like, would you like me to share this amount of information, or like, do you prefer blogs? Do you prefer written articles? Like, I ask now what kind of way they best absorb information. So, you know, but that's been great as well, because it means that, like, I have a tendency, if I'm interested in something, I read really kind of academic things and really like, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's helped me to be like, okay, well, now I can find resources that are in lots of different mediums, so that when I'm doing a blog, it won't be just purely according to blah blah blah, you know, written in a kind of academic way. It's helped me to kind of expand the way that I can give information as well. So it's been great.
So you can reach lots of people. I'm just wondering, because you all have such different talents and you came together as a kind of a team who'd never worked together before. Like doing websites and people doing writing. I mean, writing seemed to be the least of the blog in the beginning. There were so many other things going on behind the scenes. Marja-Kristina, would you be able to talk a little bit about what kind of structures you put in place to ensure that there was a blog and that there were articles flowing, and in terms of advertising and in terms of topics, just around organizational structures? And anybody else can dip in if they want to, if you need. I know you might need to take a break because you're a parent of a very young child. So yeah.
No, it's it was kind of a group effort to, you know, and to provide this organizing structure, because we didn't want to have, you know, like we didn't want to have some sort of system where it's like you must do this, you know, and then the people who are just going like, oh my God, you know, why is this computer yelling at me and making me do stuff? We just wanted to, because basically kind of the organization came together organically. Like first we kind of set up a Google document, just kind of when we were coming up, you know, with what is the name of the blog, what are we doing, what do we want to write about. So then it kind of grew, like we set up a Google Drive where people could put their writing or pictures, or, you know, an email where people could send their ideas. And then we've also set up 2 different messenger groups, for like one for everybody on a blog and one for people dealing with more social media. So we just have so we'd have a few like different channels, but like, you know, they could all be used, you know, kind of for you know, like for the purposes, kind of like with the best purposes. Yeah, and it's still growing, obviously. Like we have a content calendar, kind of social media. And I think, you know, as the blog grows, you know, there will be, you know, we'll try new tools. There might be tools, you know, we haven't found yet that might be, you know, because we're trying to find tools and ways that are just not burdensome on people. Like as I said, that you don't have the red flashing lights going like, you know, you haven't done it, you horrible person. But like we're just kind of, you know, we're basically finding a way to share information among ourselves. And like, you know, if there's a few weeks, you know, without a post, you know, it's fine. You know, everybody else is probably enjoying the sun as well, not just us. Like we just kind of, we're trying to set up a space where, you know, we have the information, but like, you know, like, but somebody else, like if you just can't, you know, get to it, then somebody else, you know, is able to find it and kind of run with it if they would like.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, one of the things I love about the blog is that everything is then so well referenced, And then somebody not only is gathering the references, but is putting them in the right place and linking everything together. So it means that when you have some downtime, there's a lot there for people who are new to the blog to just come and to read. But I mean, you're all doing so many different things. And I know in the beginning, there was such a powerful output right through April because of April and autism. But it must be very easy just to burn out. I mean, Joanna, you were kind of the person gathering everything together. How do you not burn out, or do you?
I mean, in hindsight, I mean, if somebody is watching, I don't know if people watching thinking of doing the same thing. So I think it's a very good idea to create collective spaces like this, and you can do it. And just even setting it up per se is not hard at all. I think you just have to be very aware of things. For example, if you set up a website from scratch, there will be a million different options concerning the templates you can use, the themes, the design. You want to design a logo, you want to find colors, categories. I will show all this later just with a little walkthrough, but I think it's important to be aware that there will always be a million options, and just to, like, I'm bad at prioritizing. So to just let things be good enough, to just maybe set yourself clear time limits. To maybe I started tracking my spoons. I don't know if you spoon theory, like my energy levels, what kind of tasks consume my energy, and what kind of tasks do I find meaningful, and what kind of tasks do I find rather tedious. So like there is a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes. It's not just like typing a nice text and pressing send and that's it. So there are a lot of little bits and pieces that it makes a lot of sense to create lists, to know what you have to do and to tick it off, and to just, I don't know, what I've learned is that I have to set boundaries, because I get very obsessed with things and I want them to be perfect and I want to be involved all the time. And just setting boundaries and being realistic. And like Marja-Kristina says, you can't really, we're all disabled. We all have all kinds of things to do. A lot of us have chronic illnesses, mental health issues, whatever it is. Like you can't really point your finger at people, and especially demand avoiding people, and go like, you do this, you do that. So you have to ask, but at the same time, it's hard to ask because you don't want to burden anybody. And then like, I think in the beginning I took on way too much. I got way too obsessed with it, way too perfectionistic about it. And I just kind of really burned out. Like I haven't even touched it in like a few weeks, although I'm still excited about it and I'm excited of going back, but maybe just making sure that every step along the way, you have the whole team and you know what each person realistically can do within the next month, for example, or within the next quarter, or whatever kind of time you want to set. And like setting yourself clear limits, being okay with things being more cyclical. Like for example, related to work, I've realized that I'm not like a regular working person. I'm more like I binge and then I crash kind of person. So in a way, I want to embrace that, because I think it's very good to get into this hyper focus and to get things done and not to switch around. I don't know, I'm not good at switching tasks, but at the same time to kind of find a way to like shut it all down, have downtime and not crash. So like to balance it a little bit out, I think would be something I need to work on a bit. And like, yeah, but it's definitely, I don't want to make it sound like, I don't want to deter people from doing it. It's just, it can be anything you want. So if you want to set up a website, take it slow, see how many people you have, see what kind of skills you have. Or there's a lot of resources online where you can learn things like setting up a website. Like I have no background in IT and I managed to do it. All these kind of designy things, like you can do them on Canva, and you don't need any design background. So like, of course, it's not going to be as professional as if you hire somebody, but if you have volunteers, you don't have money for that. So if anybody out there wants to join, like graphic designers, web designers, please just send an email. But yeah, I think being very clear about boundaries, setting clear expectations, not being too perfectionistic, and then I think it'll be great if you decide to do something similar.
Thank you. And so you're kind of a collective, and you're open to people who will come and join you and just write things or float in and float out.
Yeah. I'd say we actually discussed, like we discussed it within the group, that like we want to be, like we all know that we're different people, as you, Joanna said, was, some of us have disabilities, some of us have things going in their life, you have illnesses, you have children, and like we try to be kind of cognizant that people might just have something going on, and it's just like, as much as they want to do for the blog, they just, they have something else in their life that is taking precedence. And then I think and I think we worked like really well together, everybody in the blog, because we kind of realized, like it's a fun project, but it's a volunteer project. We're kind of, we can give to it what we can give. Sometimes we need to just go enjoy the sun and then come back to it after, when it's rainy again, and when we can go outside. Like basically, like we just need to kind of let ourselves and others kind of relax and just have it something fun in our life, and not just kind of, oh, this difficult thing, not a difficult thing we have to do, but just something we kind of feel passionate about.
So you're kind of managing expectations of yourselves. Okay. And Gillian, just in terms of the blog, can it be a platform for advocacy, or is it just a series of individual kind of tales and stories? Like how can it support, I suppose, people to understand autism better, or the autistic needs to be better recognized?
Well, I'm going to be speaking personally here, I think, because I definitely think it can be. I think that's like Joanna, I think it was, did the post about myths. It's kind of a myth busting post. And then one of the first posts or blogs that was put up was the do's and don'ts of, kind of autism. And that was widely shared. And I saw people sharing it that didn't know that I was autistic. And so it was being shared outside of just, our core group and people we know, and autistic people sharing it. So yeah, definitely. And like, when you say advocacy, it can be used for more full-on advocacy, but even just dispelling some of those myths in an accessible way is advocacy in and of itself. I just got my official recognition a couple of weeks ago, and my psychologist sent me the final documentation and stuff like that, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I read your blog on masking," and I was like, "Oh." I had written that blog before she diagnosed me, so I was like, yeah. So I'm glad you read that after we had our conversation. But so yeah, so she had come across that by herself. I hadn't told her about it. I hadn't told her it had anything to do with it, to be honest with you. So yes, like it can be used for advocacy in a really serious, talking about very serious stuff. But I think the real beauty of it is that even though everybody's writing different parts, there's a thread running through it that shows that that while we are individuals and while we all have different strengths and there is an autistic voice, there is an autistic community that can be represented by it, and that is advocacy. Yourself that there's still an awful lot of belief about the fact that autistic people, that we can't speak for ourselves, that somebody else needs to be our voice. And I think that's important to talk about, and to give opportunities to people who may be non-speaking to show that there is a commonality between us, and that's an advocacy in itself, that that we have similar themes but we have different experiences of it. So yeah, I think it's a very important, because it's accessible, because it's open, like anybody can look at the blog. The little posts are easily shareable on social media. It's an easy way to advocate without having to sign a petition or that kind of thing. It's a way for people to advocate, especially if somebody, like as Joanna said, and said anybody is welcome to send something in. So if somebody felt really passionately about something, this is an opportunity for them to be like, right, I want to get this off my chest, so yeah, I really do think it's an important kind of medium. And as you said, I think it's the only one of its kind in Ireland at the moment autistic voices.
Yeah,
a group together.
But the idea that autistic people can work as a team is quite amazing, because it's blasting through a stereotype in itself that people are.
Well, that's exactly it. This whole, if we all have such terrible communication difficulties and deficits, how are we even able to get together to form a coherent group? Like, you know, it's just absolutely showing that for the nonsense it is, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we are perfectly capable of communicating with each other perfectly fine, but and I think the fact that we're all kind of high masking is that we can speak a little bit of neurotypical as well, so that's helpful as well to help them bring them on the journey. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
Thanks, Gillian. So it's a great blog, and that's why I asked you to be part of the Autistic Pride Picnic. But how do people find the blog? Marja-Kristina, how can people access the blog? And
well, the blog can be found, you know, if you just type in outloud.ie, so it's AUTLOUD and .ie, and you can just type that into Google as well if you just can't remember if it's .ie or .com or whatnot. And we also have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, and we have an Instagram account, which are all linked on our website if you can't find them like easily.
Great, so very easy to find you all. Thank you. Future plans. Would anybody like to discuss what you might have for the future? What you might be doing as time goes by? Having a long rest for now because you just exploded in April.
Yeah, I think we're enjoying the sun while it's lasting.
Joanna.
I think like my dream is still that we get more like different parts of the autistic community together. Like Gillian was saying, we were trying to get some non-speaking autistic people involved. It's quite difficult to get in touch in Ireland. I have to also say that like outreach is not my strength, so I have to really push myself to like contact people all the time. So like that's maybe not the easiest, but it would be so nice. And like we have a lot of people already on board from the LGBTQ plus community. I think we definitely need a lot more representation there. We need people from the travelers community. We need people from all kinds of like doubly marginalized groups. So if anybody who lives in Ireland or Northern Ireland, we don't have anybody from Northern Ireland yet, so please, if you live here or if you have a connection to Ireland, you don't necessarily have to live here, then you're very welcome to just drop us an email or just click on the website, go to contact, and like we can have all kinds of contributions. They don't have to be written, they don't have to be long, they can be a picture, they can be a song, they can be, we have a whole corner that I will show later on that is just about creative stuff like art. So I think it's really, like Gillian says, there is like this autistic voice, but I think it's made up of all those different voices. And the more different voices we can get together, I think the better it will paint a picture maybe.
And that's a good note to end. Thank you so very much for letting us know about the OutLoud blog. And I'm really looking forward now to your piece guiding us through the blog and what we might find there. And I hope people from all over the world will get to know your blog after Autistic Pride on Saturday. So happy Pride, everybody. And thank you very much.
Happy Pride.
Pride.